Carlos Vera.
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. So, I don't even know where to start, but I'll just start here. So, a lot of people have been asking me about this picture of me at 50-50 and, like, what the hell am I doing there type questions. And I understand it because I was actually thinking the same exact thing. And, you know, the truth is that I guess I just got some dope friends doing dope things.
Yeah.
And Ryan just kind of invited me. But, you know, beforehand, like, bro, I was petrified. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going, you know what I mean? Like, he's like telling me, you know, Ryan's such an awesome person, man. He stopped by a couple of times, the restaurant I work at, and, you know, we just chop it up. And he just kept saying, hey, come by on Thursday. We're going to be sparring. And it's going to be me, it's going to be Corey Sandhagen, Ton Lee. And I'm like, all right. like, cool. You know
Did you have any idea who Corey Sandhagen and Ton Lee were?
I had every idea who Corey Sandhagen and Ton Lee were. So I'm like, all right, cool. But, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, he didn't just invite me to Jiu-Jitsu 1, you know what I mean? Or or somewhere where I would feel more. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So for about 2 days, man, I'm like,
you're kind of stressing.
Man, I'm kind of stressing a little bit. I didn't know how I was going to play it. Like, you know, but I came in there. I had on a hoodie and sweatpants, and underneath I had on a tank top and shorts. I was ready for whatever the fuck I do.
Right.
But, you know, I'm only painting that picture because I do know those individuals, right? Like, I have a lot of respect for those individuals and their not just their accomplishments in the octagon or like, but just the discipline that it takes to
the lifestyle, the dedication.
Exactly. With that, these are some of the most dangerous, most tactical strikers in the world. Just talking about Corey and Ton in specific, and then you got Ryan, where it's like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like, all right, but I'm going. So I came, and I was nervous, and first person that walks in was Corey, and he saw me, and he had seen me a couple days ago at the restaurant. He's like, what's up, Zoe? What are you doing here? You training? And I'm like, So, man, but, you know, fast forward, we're in there, and, ultimately, I was the mastermind of the sidelines. You know what I mean? I was just there as a guest. But, you know, there's a point where Ryan's talking to me, and I'm, like, kind of getting a little, it's almost like surreal. You know what I mean? Because I feel like he's, like, the mind. You know what I mean? So if I can pick his brain a little bit, like, man, like, I really got to tune in here. But then Corey starts shadow boxing behind him. So now I'm like,
You're honed in.
I don't know where to look, you know what I mean? Because I can't not pay attention to this, holy shit. But when I left there, so fast forward, when I left, the only question I had was, who is Carlos Vera? So, Carlos Vera, ladies and gentlemen. Man, like, I've never said, you know, what I saw, but it was, like, you know, you put me on notice, right? Just being in that center with you, being in your home with you, it just made me want to ask a lot of questions naturally. So, you know, you get home, you get on the Googles, and there's a lot. But it's not everything. Who is Carlos Vera?
That's a cool question. First of all, thank you for having me on the podcast.
No problem.
Cool, man.
No
just
problem.
being able to come here, chill, kick it, and talk a little bit about, you know, just what two hardworking dudes can do. Who's Carlos Vera? I was born in Ecuador, South America. I emigrated here to the States, to New Orleans, when I was 3-4 years old, and I grew up in NOLA. Grew up in New Orleans. I love New Orleans, man. I took it for granted. When I moved here, I realized how special New Orleans is, man. It's just a melting pot of cultures. It's, you know, just Afro, Hispanic, Asian, just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place, you know. So a lot of my identity comes from being Ecuadorian, being from New Orleans, you know. And then I I started martial arts in New Orleans, Taekwondo when I was 4 with Tan Lee and his dad. His dad was my teacher at 4 years old. So I've grown up knowing Tan Lee.
Oh, man.
So Tan met Ryan Hall at he met Ryan Hall at the Ultimate Fighter season the first time with Conor McGregor, and he moved. He came to Falls Church for a little bit, and then went back to New Orleans. And I trained with him. He's my teammate. I trained with him, and like there was just a jump. And I was like, dude, how did you get so good so fast? And he was like, well, it's just this guy, man, Ryan. Like he's so good at what he does. He teaches, and like I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna come visit you for a week because he had just moved to Falls Church. And I went there. I came here, and it was mind blowing, man. Ryan is truly a wizard. He's truly a savant when it comes to specific things, to logic, and he takes that logic and puts it in jiu-jitsu and puts it in striking and puts it in martial arts in general, and it just makes people, consistent, disciplined people, just get so much better. Anyway, fast forward, I signed with Fury right after the pandemic. Fury FC is like a kind of a regional minor league kind of type deal. It's a big feeder organizations to the big leagues. And I went 4-0 there, and then I got the phone call to do the Ultimate Fighter. It was right post-Christmas. So I had me and my girl, we went to Boston, and we enjoyed Christmas. And, man, I had just eaten everything in sight. So they called me. They're like, yo, man, get ready to leave at the end of January. I was like, okay, well, I got to get my weight on check.
Right.
So, we do our thing. And, it all worked out well, man. I get selected for the Ultimate Fighter, and I was on Team McGregor, and you'll be able to see my episode tonight, Tuesday night, ESPN Plus, 10 p.m.
I'm glad you're saying that, because we are today is actually tonight is when that episode is airing. And it's so for whenever anybody watches this, depending on what time frame it is, for me, it's kind of a weird thing, right? Because I'm talking to you. Almost like in your fight tonight, right? But I want to go back real quick to touch on just like let's go back real quick to New Orleans. So you move here when you're 3, right, from Ecuador.
Yes, sir.
And you're experiencing all these cultures, So you grew up in New Orleans from that point to
6 years ago when I moved here.
Okay, so, man, so how did I got a lot of questions. So first off, I've never been to New Orleans. I'm just going to be, truth be told, it's for the dumbest, stupidest reason. I'm a Falcons fan.
We hate y'all too. Don't worry.
This it's really just due to Falcons Twitter. I was on Twitter like 2009. Everybody's really talking shit. Roddy White and. Just
that's
it was
funny.
like a deep,
there's a hate. There's a hate. It's still kind of there,
I've
man.
Never been in New Orleans.
Bro,
all
you gotta
these people
go.
are talking about good
You
food.
gotta
My
go to
mom's
Nola.
like, it's an amazing place.
Yo, you gotta go.
Like,
you
bro,
gotta go.
I've never been to New Orleans for
go.
that fact alone, and it's ridiculous. But I've heard a lot of great things about it. But when I think about New Orleans, you know what I mean? I think about the Hot Boys. I think about, you know what I mean? What were you exposed to, like, as far as New Orleans cultures? Like, what are your most prominent memories?
New Orleans is so small, bro, that you're exposed to all of it. I mean, New Orleans itself, it's small compared to D.C., compared to other places. Initially, as a child, I was, and I say this in the show, actually, you'll see it tonight, I was brought up in an Ecuadorian bubble, because you come in, I didn't speak the language, my family were immigrants, we just stuck to our own. Kind of how you see in different like little pockets of communities elsewhere. The Vietnamese community, they got the Salvadoran community, right? So I was in that little community as a kid. I didn't know much, man. I stuck to the diet that we tend to have, the South American Ecuadorian diet, rice, plantains, beans, like all of that stuff is what we stuck to. Not till I started getting a little bit older, I started experiencing, competitions and middle school, high school. Then you start understanding that what you're living isn't day to day in the rest of America. So like part of culture for us was Mardi Gras every year. Mardi Gras is a big thing.
Yeah.
You got weeks off, parades all the time, second lines. Do you know what second line is?
Yeah.
All right, second line,
yep.
big old bands walking
Right.
by, just brass bands, and that's just part of the culture, man.
Yeah.
You grow up with second lines. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just somebody's getting married, you got a second line. Second line just on a random Sunday. You got a
Right.
second line just walking down just because,
Yeah.
Jazz in the corner, music, food, and then the fusion of food. You got gumbo, jambalaya, etouffee. You got all of it. You grow up with all of it. And it's very similar because of its Afro and indigenous roots.
Yeah, right.
It's very similar to Hispanic food.
Sure.
So, like, it was an easy kind of transition with food-wise, And then, not to mention, like, Afro-Hispanic culture is very prevalent there. It's just... You grow up a certain way.
Right.
You do listen. Lil Wayne is the man. Like, he is the hometown hero.
Yeah.
Anyone from New Orleans will rep Lil Wayne to the day we die.
Right.
It's just the way it is,
Right.
man. Like, Katrina hit, my man was still rapping about us. I was there for Katrina.
That's where I wanted to start there, because that's naturally, because I haven't, I went through and I listened to every damn interview. I did. And I'm like, man, I haven't heard that yet. Like, but what, were you... So you went through. How old were you when
Dude,
Katrina
it was my first week of senior year high school when Katrina hit.
Man.
First week of senior year. But for us, we grow up having hurricanes.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, it's another hurricane. Cool, let's pack for a few days. Let's go have a vacay.
Right.
We out. We'll
We'll be back.
Back to normal life.
Yeah.
We might have to gutter the house a little bit. And dude, this is how we live. Everybody. We might have to gutter the house a few inches. Cut the sheetrock. Do this. Do that. That we're just ready for it.
Yeah.
Turn off the electricity. Take out all the food from the fridge. Do what you got to do, because we're just used to it.
Right.
So we thought it was just another small storm that was going to pass us by. We paid no mind to the impact that it could have really had, because we've had so many close calls that we're like, whatever.
Right.
So we get, and I went to high school at Jesuit New Orleans. It's in the heart of Mid-City in New Orleans, which is like 7 minutes away from Magnolia Projects, where Lil Wayne's from.
Yep. Notorious Magnolia Project.
So like 7 minutes away from Magnolia, and first week of high school, and we're like, hey, we got this storm coming. Y'all got a few days off. Here's some homework. See y'all next week. That's not how it worked out, right? Like it was catastrophe, right? And unfortunately,
where were you?
We went to Houston.
Yeah, okay.
We went to Houston.
You actually left before?
Yeah. I mean, unless you are senior citizens type that because I had my neighbors wrote it out. Yeah. They got people that write it out, right? They got people that want to write it out, and this just because it's part of New Orleans tradition, New Orleans culture. Like, we can write it out. We're straight. Like, we're gritty people.
Right.
So we left to Houston. It was wild, and then everything happened.
Yeah.
The levees broke, like just the city flooded. Crazy. My school was 4 stories high. The first 2 stories were inundated with water. It was wild, bro. It was wild.
Man.
So we went to Houston for a few days. Now my pops and my uncles, everybody did construction. So we had permits to go back into the city. So it was my pops, my cousins, and my uncles. We came back to take care of our houses. So we were gonna all right, man, let's just get our houses prepped and ready to go. But bro, at this point, it was martial law, man. No electricity, so they had no power. The gangs were running rampant. They took over everything. It was, you got to be strapped. True story. You got to be strapped. We had guns in the car. I remember specifically, I didn't know how to fucking shoot, but can I curse? My bad.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know how to shoot.
Yeah, no, you
know?
cuss.
And I was like, damn, like this is, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And then getting to the city, everybody was on alert.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember everybody's like, kind of like, dude, the stench. It was death.
Yeah.
It smelled like death, because it literally was. Not to mention that think of you like having something flooded, and then you come back a few days later, it stinks, right? add dead animals, dead people, dead everything, and then rotten stuff all over the place. Bro, it was horrid. It was a stench that I'll never forget.
You know, it's so fascinating. So first off, it's like it's terrible what happened, and you know it really that really. Yeah, I mean, that really ravaged the city. It for a while, really divided the country, actually. Yeah. But, you know, anybody who was there describes the same types of scenes.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting to hear it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So you're a senior in high school. So 1 week, you're a senior in high school.
Senior in high school.
A couple weeks later, you're toting steel, not knowing how to shoot, riding through the city. And you got to be like, what has happened to me? Yeah, like what is happening here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so were your houses affected or like were?
Yeah, I mean, all of our houses were affected pretty badly. Our house was on the outskirts of New Orleans, in an outside city, so it wasn't as bad as like the New Orleans houses that were completely inundated. But our roof collapsed, and we had like wooden floors and like everything buckled. Like our house was done.
Right.
So that had to be fixed up, and then we had to wait for FEMA to give us money, and FEMA had to give everybody money, which took years, bro, years. But what they did give us were trailers. And for the longest time, everyone lived in a trailer, bro. Everyone in New Orleans and in the surrounding cities lived in a trailer.
Got you.
So it was just all of my families being in a trailer, and I ended up going back to Houston to finish half of my senior year there. And then I came back for the second half as soon as they had rebuilt the school, the first 2 floors of the school. At this point, the city started rebuilding itself. And it took a while for it to thrive again. But, dude, we're gritty people. I always say this, man. New Orleans, Louisiana, there's a difference because I love D.C. and Virginia. In Maryland, well, more D.C., Virginia. Yeah. It's a beautiful place, and it's upkept well, and the people are very educated, and you know, like you have like kind of the best of the best coming through this area at all times, right? Louisiana is a beautiful place, but it is blue collar as hell. Like everyone there is gritty, blue collar. Let's get head down, get to work. Yeah, that's the way we are. Yeah. Right. So. I mean, little by little, the city started reconstructing itself. It's like an ant pile. You know, they just start getting to work. You know, and that's it. And then on top of that, the culture of New Orleans is like, yo, have a beer, be happy, let's get to work. Right. That's it. Right. So like, yo, I mean, yes, it was sad. A lot of lives were lost. It was a very tragic moment, but. New Orleans culture, man, you keep on going because I mean, think about it. The past of New Orleans was slavery and indigenous slavery, and you know, them coming out and getting their own like identity. You know, so like, it's not new to New Orleans. That's when I was like, damn, this city's gangsta as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where I've grown. This is my city. It's where I grew up in. You know what I'm saying? So like, it creates some gritty ass people. Right. So yeah.
So you had that as like kind of like your armor going through what you know the path that you're on now.
100%.
So what, based on the research that, I mean, first off, thank you for sharing that, man. I really wanted to hear about that. But based on the research that I've done, you got into, was it Taekwondo at 3, 4?
Yeah, 3, 4 years old. I was into Taekwondo. Yeah.
So I mean, because a lot of kids have done that. Did you know early
that I was gonna make it my life?
Yeah. Like when you look back on it, because sometimes I look back on things, right? Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, I was meant to do this. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Just based on my interest back then. Yes. Now, you know, 3 years old in Taekwondo, like I was in karate too. Yeah. Don't know. I couldn't tell you what happened. Right. But you know, from there to now, right? So you are on a prospects team. Yeah. But you are 35 years old. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's like, but based on what you're telling me and based on what I know to be true just about you, like I said, something pulled me to you. Yeah. You built for this. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
How do you, like, where did you fall in love with it?
It's funny you say that because I do sit back and I think about it. I was like, man, the life that I live now is exactly what it was when I was 4 years old. It's like, all right, like wake up, go to school, go train till nighttime, come back, do homework, do my own training before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's it. And now it's just extra training. And it stems from the discipline. My dad was a avid athlete in South America. He played soccer. He played basketball.
Okay.
And he brought up just discipline in my life. That was something that he really, really like kind of instilled in me. So there were times, plenty of times that I wanted to quit, you know, because you're a kid, you know.
Right.
And then I also didn't live like these normal kids playing every other sport and having summers off and doing this and that, this and that. I was just stuck to Taekwondo and like competition and like this and that. And, you know, for the first, 8 years until I started becoming a teenager, I was like still in it and I grew my fundamentals. But when I started realizing the special powers that I had, man, because I'm a boy hitting teenage years and getting my man strength a little bit, I was like, oh, this is dope. And I'm starting competing in like state, national, international tournaments. And I'm like, we're champs. Like between Tan, his little brother, myself, and like our team, our squad at Moon College Taekwondo in New Orleans, like we were well known.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is my lifestyle. This is, at that point, I knew that this was the life that I wanted to live.
And that had to be what year? Like, so let's say, what,
2000, about 13.
2000. Okay, all right.
13 years old at 2000.
And there's not like, is MMA is a thing at that point.
It is, but it's very underground
still. It's in the dog years, man.
It's underground still.
Yeah, still in the, So was that on your radar at that time?
No.
Okay, what was on your radar?
It's just trying to represent Taekwondo in the Olympics.
In the Olympics. Okay, so you wanted to go to, all right, nice.
Yeah, I wanted to rep Ecuador.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to rep Ecuador.
Of course.
But I wasn't an American. They didn't have a Taekwondo team. They're a very small, kind of poor country. And I couldn't rep the U.S. team because I wasn't a citizen yet. So we eventually went through the process, and I became a citizen. And I did the Junior Olympics. I ended up getting 4th place in the Junior Olympics, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I went to, like I said, a little bit of a prestigious high school. And even though I still trained, like, I really put some time and dedication into my studies and into just being a good student because I knew that we were poor.
Right.
I don't want to say poor. We just we were humble.
Yeah.
And we were hardworking. And college is expensive. Bro.
Wealthy with love.
Yeah, wealthy with love, right?
Yeah.
So my parents made it known very early on, if you want to go to college, bro, you're going to have to do this on your own.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got it. No worries.
Right.
I'll take care of my own. And I did. I ended up getting fantastic grades. I got a 3.96 at a very prestigious high school. And I got a full ride to Loyola.
Oh, nice.
So Loyola University, New Orleans. And I still train Taekwondo at this time. This little bit, like, we'll connect in just a bit. But I graduated in accounting. I worked as an auditor at an accounting firm for a few years. And then I went into banking. I was on the business side of it. So I did business banking. I did that for 6 years. And I got licensed with investments and all that stuff. So I was in banking for a while with my accounting background. But I became an amateur fighter. So it was when I was 22 maybe. Tan, Lee, and I, we went to go watch amateur and pro card in New Orleans. And we're like, dude, we're way better kickers than these guys. We got better footwork. Obviously, we got stuff we got to work on, but we can do something.
Right.
I was like, why don't we try to take an amateur fight just to see it, right? Because at this point, like, we had kind of outgrown the Taekwondo scene, and we just, when you're in it for your whole life, you keep the discipline, but it's like,
right.
Like, maybe let's add something new to the repertoire, right?
Right.
So we ended up talking to the promoter, and he booked us a fight, and then we ended up, like, literally teaching ourselves how to box, and we found a jiu-jitsu guy and, like, Sean Gate in Mid-City MMA, and he took us under his wing, and we just started training, and we both had our first fight, we were both still working. He was actually working at the bank, too.
Okay.
We were both still working, and we took our first amateur fight just to see how it goes, because, hey, maybe we get our asses whooped, and, like, all right, cool. That was a good try. Right? We both knocked our opponents out in under 60 seconds.
So I was laughing. So the first thing I did when I came home from that session was look up Carlos Vera first MMA fight, and it wasn't long. Was that it?
No, that was my first pro fight in the States.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, nice. So this was
my first amateur fight. Was kick to the face. Wow.
Boom.
Dude drops. Tan punches someone in the face. Boom, drops.
Boom.
And we looked at each other. We're like,
yeah,
we can do this, though. Right? And then we take a few more fights. Obviously, we still both have our careers, you know. Tom was management at Verizon Wireless for a while, and then he went into banking, and we both worked at Chase Bank. It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
But we both trained all the time. I mean, I trained morning time. Like, as an amateur, I was training like I was when I was a kid. So I was an amateur. Even though I was working, I was training in the morning. During lunchtime, I would go train, and at nighttime, I trained to 11.
Yeah.
Right? So this has been my life, my whole life, bro. Like, literally, what I live now, it's nothing new. It's just what I've done my whole life.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, cool. Training is what I love, you know? So it's like, there's no problem for me to do all this.
You kind of have to love it.
You have to.
Yeah.
You can't deal with the bullshit that comes with it if you don't love it. Because you're fighting people. You're going to get hurt. And not just to mention the emotional rise that you have to go through to fight something, win, lose, draw, you know? So you have to love it. But after we won our first few fights, we both had setbacks as well as amateurs. We lost, and we realized that we really had to work on our grappling. And we started really focusing on our grappling. And then Tom became a pro a little earlier than I did, a few years earlier than I did. And we eventually got to a point where we knew we had to stop working if we wanted to take this seriously, because we could feel that we could do something in the sport. And the thing is that, you know, we were already kind of old for the sport, man. I was 25. Tan was 26, 27. He's 2.5 years older than me. 28. So he went pro earlier. I went pro, I think, at about 27. I went pro. But we ended up, like, quitting our jobs. Tan got on the Ultimate Fighter with, sure enough, Team McGregor, with Conor McGregor. That is crazy how the world works. At that time, it's nuts, man. It's nuts. With Ryan Hall, meets Ryan Hall. They become friends, and he moved to Falls Church. I had just quit my job, and I was training full time. And when he came back, I was like, dude, what the hell? How did you get so damn good? He was like, dude, it's this dude. So I started creating a relationship with Ryan. I flew out here a few times. And then when I was like, if I'm going to do this, I had to do this the real way. And I moved here.
Was making the decision to leave the bank a hard decision?
It was and it wasn't. It wasn't in the fact that I knew how to do it. I had to do it. I knew I had to. I mean, if I'm that guy who doesn't do shit halfway. I have to do it full. Like, if I'm going to do it, I have to put my heart and soul into it, right? But I'm also, you know, I'm an accountant. I'm mathematical with the way I want to think about stuff. I was like, all right, man, let's make sure we have some savings in the bank. So I was able to take away part of my 401k. And I was like, hey, man, for the first year, you got yourself. And then I know I was, you know, I grew up in the restaurant industry, which we'll talk in a bit. But I know I'll be able to bartend or something, and I'm good with people. I'll make my ends meet. I'm not worried about that, right? So for the first year, I just worked. I trained, and I met people. And along the way, I got myself a bartending gig that got me some decent cash on the weekends, and I worked 1 day a week. And then eventually they saw 50-50 where I was at. They saw that I worked hard, and they're like, hey, man, do you want to become part of your staff, of the staff? I was like, yeah. So then I'm part of the staff there. Yeah. I teach, I train, and then on the weekends. Shout out to Ryan and Jim, man. Yeah, they help out, man. They I'll tell you what, like, they see people that work hard and want to do something, and they will give you an opportunity. Man, I mean, it's crazy. And it's not just like any opportunity. Like, I can survive here in D.C. Yeah, this is an expensive place. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's just incredible, man. Like, I look forward to talking to him just about, like, just keeping the gym open during the pandemic, and you know, it's just a beautiful thing. But I just want to great. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. So, so you were saying that you got the job at 50-50. Yeah, and
I worked part time at the restaurant. Yep. And you know, like, that was enough money for me to just live comfortably and train full time.
It is crazy that, you know, if you know what you're doing in a restaurant, you can make money forever. Bro. It's literally a trade.
It is a trade.
You know, and I'm like, I try to tell that to people all the time. Like,
they don't get it.
Yeah, it's like, man, you can literally take this anywhere at any point.
100%.
As long as you're just, like, like if you're reasonable with yourself, you can find a little niche, like a little corner. You don't even have to work every day. Lynch was here. He was just sitting right over here, did this. Like I said, he was my bar manager. And he was telling me how he got out of restaurants. And essentially he was bartending at Decades. And he just kept getting more and more opportunities to paint. So eventually he just told them like, hey, just take me off the schedule. If you need me, call me. You know what I mean? If you need me to take some shifts, hit me up. But I'll be doing this. Let me get out of your hairs. So it is kind of wild that you're sitting here kind of saying it.
You know what's funny? That's exactly what I did. Especially right before the show, because I had to be gone for several months.
Right.
So I was like, I told the bar, I was like, yo, because for fight camps, I'd be like, hey guys, listen, for fight camps, like I don't want to be around the food, the alcohol, and the atmosphere, because it's a fun place. If you want to eat everything there, and you want to have drinks afterwards,
it's tough.
So I was like, yo, for fight camps, I don't work. I tell them, hey, take me off the schedule. Initially, they didn't want to work with me because they didn't know me. But as soon as they see my work ethic, as soon as they see how responsible I am, I'm never late. I never miss a day. Like I'm that dude. Right. You can depend on me.
That blue collar New Orleans.
All day. You can depend on me. And then at the same time, I'm good with people, bro. Like so it's like, okay, cool. As soon as they saw that, they're like, yo, Carlos, if you need to take some time off. When we need somebody, can we call you? I was like, hell yeah.
It just works
Most
out.
def. It just works out.
People, go ahead.
And they'll be like, yo, I'll have my off time. And then like, yo, I need Thanksgiving, because I don't travel much unless it's for fighting. He's like, hey, can we call you for Thanksgiving and for Christmas Eve? Got you, dog.
Yeah.
I'm there. Right? Boom.
Right.
So they're like, cool.
500?
Yeah. Easy, right? So they're like, they can count on me. I can count on them. So like right before the show, I was like, hey, can you take me off the schedule? I'm going to be gone for a few months. And I haven't gone back yet, but like I'm still on the schedule.
Right.
It's like if they need me, bam, which is awesome.
You were mentioning how ironic it was. So, I first, like a lot of people, first see Ryan Hall on The Ultimate Fighter, Faber versus McGregor. That was like the best season of The Ultimate Fighter for me because I had just moved to Arlington, right? It was weird. So I just moved to Arlington, and I was really trying to find like my way. I had a girlfriend that lived out here. We like literally as soon as I get out here, she leaves me. So it was like, man, what the hell? I'm like working at Don Tito, trying to like find some type of social thing, and I just started building my name at Don Tito, you know what I mean? So I started building my name in Arlington just for, if you want to come out and have a good time, or like, hey, that's Zoe, works at Don Tito, like, hit them up, or I was doing like promotion and marketing for them. But I remember at that time, I think that season, it had to have been like 2015.
I think it was.
2015, 14, something like that.
Yeah, around there.
And I remember watching the show and it's saying Ryan Hall out of Arlington, Virginia. Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit.
It's right around here.
Yeah, like, bro, like honestly, like I was, it was just like, are you serious? You know what I mean? And the season was so phenomenal. It was right around so I really fell in love with the sport. I have like scattered memories of my love for MMA. At the first fight that really like stood out to me was Anderson Silva and Forrest Griffin. Like I remember, man,
crazy.
That was the first time I ever saw something like I couldn't really explain.
Like magic.
Yeah. It's just that virtuoso like performance where it's like there's nothing that can be done here. This guy is on a different planet. And I remember looking at that, but MMA didn't really fall into my regular thing after that. I remember like wanting to see that, and then the next time, it's like I was I remember it was. You're a football fan?
A little bit.
Okay, so I remember the Seahawks were playing the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship around that year, and they came back. It was a crazy comeback. I just remember that game. But then later that night, McGregor fought Dennis Seaver. Yeah. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, ironically, who the fuck is it? Yeah. It was like something so captivating about this person. Yeah. Right? And then the next time I saw him, he was taking Baby Jose's belt on stage or whatever. And I was like, man, what? So I turned the channel, right? And then he beat Chad Mendez. Yep. And then it was like the Ultimate Fighter was shortly after that. So yeah, I was just trying to find my way around that time, and yeah, saw Ryan, and I remember distinctively like wanting to hit him up.
Yeah,
right?
because he's from here.
Because he's from here, but also too, I think in my mind back then, it's like I'm trying to meet people, I'm trying to network, I'm trying to get my name bigger. So it's like I never did. I always have like this thing where it has to be
organic.
real. It has to be organic.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time why I didn't do it. I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
But watching that series and how it went, and just like because you're right, Tan is there at the beginning, whooping ass. Ryan's there, and then for Ryan to go on to win it, beat Artem, which is also crazy to now, right? So that series happened. It was huge for Ryan, and in his star, I feel like, man, that guy's just he's phenomenal anyway. So it's like maybe it goes a different way. He could probably still get to the top, but at that point, that's his genesis.
Yeah.
Here we are, 50-50 Academy.
Crazy.
Team McGregor.
Crazy.
Different coach, Chandler, but we have a 50-50 representative out of New Orleans, out of Ecuador / New Orleans / Falls Church, Virginia.
That's it.
So going into that, like knowing that first, right? When you get selected, did you know that it was going to be Conor McGregor as coach? No. So did they tell you really anything?
No, man. When we first selected, dude, we didn't even know we were gonna be. So initially, they're like, "Hey, man, these are the rumors." We were thinking maybe it's Conor, maybe it's Chandler, maybe it's Ferguson, maybe it's Pereira. We didn't know, man. We were like, okay. And then as soon as because everyone who was going to be flown out to Vegas is in like a group text, and they're like, "Hey, you guys are gonna be flown out to Vegas," and then they announced it. It's McGregor versus Chandler. We're like, oh, this is cool.
What was your first thought? Like, what was the first thing that went through your mind? When you
I'm like, perfect. Perfect. Exactly what I want.
You call Ryan?
Huh?
Did y'all talk about that?
We were there. We're like, hey, yeah.
He was there. Man, that's crazy, man.
He's like, yo, this is cool.
Yo, that's so dope.
But then we went to Vegas, bro, and we still didn't know we were going to be selected. They told us, hey, 16 people are going to be selected. They had over 40 people in Vegas. I'm like, damn. So it might be other people.
16 people.
That's it.
And there were 40 people there.
Yeah. So they were just watching us, seeing if we behave properly, if we could handle the camera, if we could handle training. And they started dropping like flies. If we could pass the test. And then eventually, I got selected.
Are you allowed to talk about what those tests were? So,
yeah, they wanted to see you drill, jiu-jitsu, striking. They wanted to see if you ate well because they offered us everything.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. What were they offering?
Everything. Anything and everything. You want steak, you get steak. You want this, you want that. You want burgers, you want nachos.
What were you eating?
I was eating, like, lean meats.
Okay.
Because I was like, yo, I got to be on my game.
I fuck with that, bro.
Right? I got to be on my game. So I was like, cool. Like, I just need to be on my game. They were like, and then all of a sudden, towards the end, they were like, hey, surprise weigh-in this morning. Let's see if you're in the radius of the show or not. Bro, that same day, if you just happen to have eaten a really bad meal the night before, you might be an extra 6 pounds over. You're out. So I was like, good thing I've been on my A game.
Leave me to
you know?
Yeah.
And then sure enough, I remember a few people were like, back on the plane, like I saw them in the morning, and they're like, damn. So it was a mind fuck, man. It was just roller coaster.
You never know when that opportunity will come. So it's like when you have it, you definitely got to take it for everything. So it's a good thing that you were just like prepared. So when you found out that you were selected, how many weeks was it before or you went to Vegas?
It was a month and a half.
A month and a half. So you had a month and a half prepared. It wasn't until you got to Vegas they told y'all who it was going to be, or they told you guys?
It was like the week before we were supposed to go.
Man, and that 40 to 16 taper down process, how long was that?
That was out of 10 days.
Man.
So we were, and not to mention, we were locked into.
I was going to ask you.
we were locked in a hotel.
Yeah, so
They took the keys.
Mm-hmm.
We could not do anything. We were stuck in that hotel unless we were going to do medicals, or unless we were doing our training or interview processes with them.
I had a friend. Her name was, ironically, her name is Morgan, like my fiance. One of my best friends. Call her Mo herself. My name is Zoe himself, Mo herself.
Zoe Mo, yeah.
She was on Temptation Island, right? A little different.
Yeah.
But, you know, first off, she didn't tell anybody. This is like years ago, right? And I mean, even just bringing up her name, if any of those fans watches, they know who she was. She ends up winning this series that it's not even a competition. But one thing I do remember is like how she was describing that isolation period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like they keep you away from everything. So that was the same what you guys were going through.
Yeah.
So it was like by yourself, no phone, you're in the hotel room. Any TV?
No. We could see TV.
See TV. But were there hours you had to be in, hours you had to be out?
All day.
Oh, man.
All day.
So, yeah. And then
we had to call
Yeah.
to like leave the room because
Yeah.
we didn't have our key. It's crazy.
Well, you got to make good TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing probably makes a great fighter like an isolated fighter,
Yeah.
right? So, hey, credit to that. So they let you guys out. You know, once you find out you're in that 16, man, are you like, is that when you went and got that fly-ass ensemble you had on during the selection process, man? Because I know you haven't fought yet.
Yeah.
And they're saying that Team McGregor is 0-4.
Yeah.
I want to correct that. They're actually 1-5. Because you won the first day with that drip, and I made it all black. Looking like, yo, I was like some 2023 John Travolta Grease shit. I was like, bro, but not wait a minute, you can't just move back. If this was working, I would drop 20 bombs for that. Yeah. Because I was like, yo, because you know I'm tuning in. Yeah. I'm like, oh, look at Carlos, bro. Yeah. Even though you didn't fight, yo, you outdressed McGregor on this first day, bro. But, yo, McGregor, look, I mean, the suit was nice. I liked it. Yo, he was fly, but bro, come on, man. You were put together. You had the chain on and all that. Like, what went into the outfit selection? They just let y'all wear whatever?
Yeah, you wear whatever.
You were like, bro, what was everybody else thinking?
It's funny because everybody else was dressed, either they were dressed chill, or they were dressed like too fly, right? They had like that nice button down, this and that. I was like, nah, man, I got to be me. Like, I had, like, some tight black joggers on, a nice V-neck black, and I was like, and it was a little chilly out. I was like, let me put my jacket that I got in Spain when I was in Spain. That was it. I was chill. It was like...
Killing it.
But that's my personality in a nutshell, bro. I'm not too high class, high maintenance. I was like, yo, give me something basic that you can wear anywhere.
I was so mad they moved past that. I was to ask her, I was like, yo, look at Carlos killing this game, bro. Yeah. So, okay, so once you get... So, I got a couple questions now. Are the fights in the order in which that they are being presented to us?
Yes.
So you guys are truly down 0-4 at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Going in, so the selection process happens. You get picked to Team McGregor. Yeah. What are you thinking at that point? Like, what is did you have a preference either way? I mean, I know it's like, you know, it is what it is now, but like, did you want to be Team McGregor?
Yes, I did. I didn't want to be Team McGregor for the fact that he's McGregor, but for fight styles. Sure. For learning. I felt like I could learn, and I could learn a lot from Chandler, too. He's a wrestler, power striker. But McGregor has a style that I wanted to adapt. Right. Counter-fighting, mentality, you know, just the ability to fight in a position that can attract audiences, and it's just so proud. Like, he's such a predator.
Yeah, and then, you know, so truth be told, quiet as kept, I'm actually associate of Owen Roddy. That's my guy, man.
That's my dude.
Yeah, I met Coach Owen Roddy. I actually went out to Mayweather McGregor. This is how big of a I was a McGregor fan, man. Like I think, like, for me, when it comes to appreciating like artists, I don't want to say fan. It's like I've seen fans do some really wild shit. Yeah. I just appreciate like an artist. So I came into, you know, the UFC, like, or just MMA, right in that moment, that McGregor era. So I was at Mayweather-McGregor.
That's crazy. And that was a crazy card.
Fully believing that Conor was going to win. I was one of those guys. But it was a wild time. I will talk about that some other time. But the day after the fight, I went to the pool, and I was so blown. I was so upset that he lost. I don't know what it was. It was like, I think like because I didn't feel like he was getting like the true respect for his craft on the other end. So like you got to think that was like the pinnacle of mainstream media and UFC,
like going together,
right? Yeah, that was the pinnacle. Now it's at a completely different point. But back then, it was like everybody was saying, "There's no fucking chance," right? Yeah. But for me, I'm like, have y'all been watching what he's been doing lately? Like the MSG with Eddie Alvarez and, all this performance after performance, but I always felt like the mistake was people saying that it couldn't be done. So Mayweather beat him. And the next day I'm at the pool, I'm just drinking with like my friends and actually Morgan, the girl I was talking about, Temptation Island, with a couple of her friends, and Owen Roddy's just out there looking around catching a tan right in front of me. I'm like, oh shit, what's up, coach? We just end up chopping it up. And I think it was at that point where I developed like a profound respect for the martial artist, and not just the person that's in the ring, but all the people behind the scenes, all the trainers, everybody that commits their life to this. Because Coach, he was just telling me, like, he was there with his wife, and everybody's talking, but he was just telling me how long he'd been away from his family to commit to that. Here I am, upset that McGregor lost, and Roddy's right there, and he's just like, man, I haven't even really seen my kids in 4 or 5 weeks, And I was like, it was then that it hit me, like, man, like, these guys are really dedicating their entire life to this thing. So, yeah, I hate to go into the rabbit hole down that part, or going that far down to get you off course, but I kind of know a little bit of that team.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so you end up getting drafted, Team McGregor. You wanted to be there. So going into the house, you know what I mean? The house is super duper dope. Yeah. What was that living experience like?
The house was tight, bro. You had everything you needed. But you were in a house with 16 dudes, and even though you were on the same team, you didn't never want to be too close with anybody because you might fight somebody. So it's like, I didn't have too much of an issue because it's like fighting is just a job to me. I love to fight, and I could fight my best friend. But it's just a job. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm a little bit more of a reserved person. Towards the end of the show, you could see me like wild out a little bit, like I'm a little goofy, like I just started meowing at people and just being like silly. But at first, I'm like super stoic. I didn't know who I could trust. I didn't know how I was gonna be portrayed. So it's like it was an experience at first, and everybody was kind of feeling each other out. I think everybody had to like take their time to really settle. But the house was cool, man. It was a neat moment to like. They gave us a list. We could eat whatever we wanted. We had to pick our roomies. I picked Aaron McKenzie, who was a cool dude. And that was it, man. Yeah. It was just us really getting to know each other. And sometimes drama came about. Sometimes it didn't. It was very basic, but it was very, it was always the tension could have just, you could dial it up at any moment in time.
I mean, you got to feel like that. If you guys are, everybody's hungry. I mean, even just the dynamic of prospects versus vets is crazy because everybody's hungry. So it's like, man, you're going to get everybody's best. Yeah. And there's probably going to be a lot of tension because, everybody's looking at it like there's only two spots here, right? Or is it one? Yeah, you get 2 spots in the so the way that I know it used to be, there's one contract at the end.
Now it's 1 spot for the main.
Yeah.
You got the other spot for for the one who loses the finale.
Right.
And then you could potentially be called up if you lose, though.
Right.
Even if you're lost, you're like on the radar. You're like, yo, at any point in time, they could call you, hey, I need you to be ready for the show.
But at most, out of 16 people, it's like you got 2 spots.
2 spots, two guaranteed spots.
Right, and that's it. And so everybody's looking at each other like food on the table. And so how do you navigate that environment to where you can always stay in your inner...
So I had a sports psych.
Yeah.
I had a sports psych specifically for this. I mean, I have a sports psych in general, but we talked about mindfulness and being able to just get in your zone, in your groove at all times, and just focus on yourself.
Right.
You know,
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Anybody can have an erratic personality, but if you know who you are and you're okay and you're calm and you're present, then you can handle anything. You know, and that is basically where I was at. I saw some tension and I had a little bit of issues and drama with, a few people, and I'm just like, all right, dude, like, you're in your own journey, I'm in my own journey, cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's that.
Do you remember that first season where McGregor was reading the note? He's like had this thing with his paper towel. It was like his introduction to the team. And essentially he's like, look, I'm not here to coach y'all. Now you got to understand, like, at that point, he's preparing for Aldo.
Yes, for the champ.
Come on, man.
Right.
This is like, so he's like, yo, I'm here to help y'all. I'm here to work with y'all. I'm not here to coach y'all. I'm not here to hold your hand. Everybody's here on their own journey. Eventually, you guys might fight me. So I felt like that was the best approach.
Yeah.
I don't know about the approach that I'm seeing right now.
Honestly, bro, first you have to keep in mind that Conor McGregor is one of the biggest superstars on the planet.
Yeah.
So...
yeah. You can't understate that enough.
You have to understand that, like, he's not a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
He has so many obligations outside of just being there in Vegas. So, and then he's also on another level of, hey, he's just getting back into the game. So, I think his approach was good because he definitely taught us a lot. But he also wasn't the Conor McGregor that you saw in the last season. So I think a middle line would have been good. I think it was a straight. Like, I think he was fine. I think the biggest thing is that it's just how I would say, is experience when it came to the vets and the prospects. Like, a lot of them just didn't have the experience or I don't want to say experience because they all fought well, but just like the experience under the spotlight. I think that played a big difference. The composure, I would say. Like
staying calm under everything.
Right. Because I think you see Mondo episode 1. He lost, Nate was episode 1. He lost by he lost in 9 seconds.
Yeah. He lost. What was it? Flying. Was
just overhand.
Overhand. Yep.
Right. To Ro Roberts.
Yeah.
And honestly, he was just a little frozen. He wasn't who he was. He didn't get to show. Mondo, same thing. Mondo's a G. Mondo's amazing. I think he could have gone all few rounds, but he got caught, and he also had to deal with a composure aspect of it. I don't think we see the composure until Trevor Wells last week.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, cool. Like, he was able to keep him. Timur is a G, bro.
Man.
Like, that dude.
Man.
He should still be in the UFC.
Man, that was. Just seeing because Trevor stayed in that storm, man. Like, and got out of it. Yeah.
So, that was the first time I was like, ooh, there's the composure that I'm looking for.
Were you nervous? Like, so with them being down 0-4, right? So I guess what we can talk, how we can say, how are you feeling right now, heading into your fight?
I was just mindful. I wasn't worried about the past. I wasn't worried about the future. I was worried about what I had to do.
Mindful.
I had to be mindful. Yo, Kobe Bryant talks about this all the time. Like, actually, one of me getting into mindfulness, I had to talk about Phil Jackson, talk about Kobe Bryant, talk about MJ. Like, those 3 guys are like inspirations. I was like, man, why is Kobe talking about this at all times before his games? I was like, damn, that's crazy, right? And it's just something that I just took to heart. Me and my sports psych spent hours talking about this, dude. It's like, because before a fight, when I was on the up and coming, which I'm still on the up and coming, but when I was on the real up and coming, when I was from being a nobody, nobody knew who Carlos Vera was, to I was now fighting for Fury, and they're like, oh, who's Carlos Vera? He's winning, he's beating these dudes. Right before that, I was like, so my record is 12-3, but before I signed with Fury, I was 8-3. So like, I had a 4-fight span where I was win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and I was like, fuck, something's off. At this point in time, the UFC scouts started following me on Instagram. They started messaging me. They started watching me, and I was like thinking about everything else except for fighting. And I was like, I wasn't focused on the task at hand. I was focused on everything else, and it was an issue. It was a problem that was not letting me fulfill my fight for what it was and compete the way I wanted to. So the first thing, and I got a sports psych. The first thing me and my sports psych started talking about was mindfulness. Was, hey, get you a book. And it was it was The Mindful Athlete. Okay. By I forget his name. He was the sports psych or the mindset coach of his name slips.
George Mumford. George Mumford.
He was the sports psych or the mindful coach of Phil Jackson, and he brought in Phil Jackson brought him in for MJ and for Kobe.
Oh wow. Okay.
He is that guy.
He's the guy. I've never even George Mumford.
Read this book.
I gotta read that book.
Read the book. Again, it's an easy read.
Yeah.
It's easy read, but he talks about weathering the storm and being present in the moment. And he's the guy that made Kobe the guy. Right?
It's so important, man. I hate to interrupt you because you're speaking. So I end every show with be mindful. You know, the mind, the whole premise really is just about what you can do when you're fully present, you know. And for me, you know, I've always been very fascinated. I think like one of the main things, one of my biggest takeaways from like building these types of relationships with you guys is like how do you just stay present? You know what I mean? Where none of this is, because there's a lot, right? There's lights, there's cameras. You're literally training for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or however it may be, and getting in an octagon, you know, in front of people. You know, so you have to, it just seems like you would have to be as mentally strong as anybody to do that. So to learn how and you know, what methods you have to go through to get to that point of Zen is interesting. Where do you even find a sports psych?
For me, it was, I had a guy that helps do sports psych for my buddy Tom Lee.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, nice.
And the team back in NOLA.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, when I needed him, I met him and I did one class and I was like, yo, we need to work. I need you. You know, this is something that I know I need to step up my game because my skills are good, but my mind is getting in the way. And when you fight somebody, you don't just fight a person, you fight yourself. You know, and if you can get past yourself and you can express yourself truly, then all you have to worry about is the person in front of you. And then once you can really understand yourself, Sun Tzu says it, you know yourself and you'll win 1,000 battles. Then it's like, ooh, express yourself. And even if you lose, it's like, okay, he beat you, but don't beat yourself and then let him beat you.
Right.
And there were fights that I was like, man, I could have won that fight, but I beat myself going in there. I was beat up already. I was a battered fighter going in there by myself mentally. So I was like, I need help, man. And I needed help. And I got the help. And it's a skill that you have to develop like anything else, bro. And it's like hours of visualization, breaking down what your mind goes through, understanding the process, reading books. And sure enough, like, dude, I went in there ready. Ready. You know, so, win or lose, I went in there ready. And you'll see it tonight. I competed at my best.
I look forward to seeing this. You strike me as, man, I'm very appreciative of this opportunity because I'm excited to watch the journey. And so going up, you got Brad Katona. Katona.
And I'll say this.
Go ahead.
Brad Katona is a chess player. And I would like to, I don't want to fancy myself a chess player, but that's who I strive to be. I strive to be a cerebral fighter. I fought the other cerebral fighter of the house. Everybody else is all heart and grit. Mad props. Brad is like me. I got to meet him a lot after the show and after we fought.
Yeah.
He approaches the game like I do. Every one of my fights, dude, I get substantially better. And I will say this. I get substantially better because of my work ethic and because I learned from what I did wrong and right. Every fight. My losses, dude, my last loss was a while ago, and I became monster. I went on a 4-fight win streak after that against good opponents, you know. And I mean,
yeah,
I'm not talking big, but it's like that's how I compete. I like to be mentally sound. I like to be safe. It's not just about heart. It's about using your mind, bro. That is martial arts.
Once you realize that you can perceive, so some people perceive losses as like a dead end, like a loss, right? And you know, I think John Kavanaugh, what do you say? It's win or learn. Win or learn.
Yeah.
Win or learn. If you can perceive a loss as a learning experience, it's like literally just like a fork in the road. You know what I mean? Like it's not the end. You just keep going, depending on how you can perceive it mentally. You know, it's like a mindset of a veteran.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, look at MJ. MJ say he missed thousands of shots. He missed hundreds of game-winning shots, but the shots that he made were immortalized.
Right.
Don't forget, bro. Like you have to take that shot, win or lose, dude. It's crazy, and not just for me, but for you, but for that accountant, for anybody in their own freaking field. Like, you got to take that shot.
When it's there, you just got to jump.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another really heavy theme here. You know, it's like what got people to just make that move? Because there's still a lot of people that don't make that move, that have passion, that have talent, that want to do, that have aspirations and want to do all these other, like, you know, all these things, all these great things, but just can't take that jump yet. And I'm here advocating that, hey, just jump. You know what I mean? If it's there, you'll be okay. If it's in you, that is your parachute. That is your safety net. You'll be all right. And even if you fall flat on your face and everything that you're afraid of happens, you'll realize that you'll fall farther than where you were. And that will even be beneficial for you. Man, so you got so going forward, right? I know there's only so much that we can talk about. What are you like? What is this viewing experience like for you? So what is it like watching every week? How do you feel about the series so far? How about that? Let's start there. How do you feel about just the viewing experience so far?
It's wild, man, because even though I'm a personal person, I know how to be social. The service industry has taught me how to talk to absolutely everybody. You could be broke on the street, or you could be the high executive. I could talk to you, and we can make stuff happen. Like, that's just the way I am. And I thrive on people's energy as well. But dude, I am the most introverted person on the planet, bro. I need to be by myself. That's just the way it is. I'm an introvert who knows how to be extroverted.
Right.
So it's always been cringe seeing myself on TV, bro. And it's so like, oh, Jesus. You know, so like seeing myself on TV and like getting all this exposure, I'm like, ugh. Right? But it's then part of the game. It's, you know, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you knew this was going to be part of the journey. So I just take it with a grain of salt. And I'm like, cool, man. Like, you know, it's been cool seeing the airtime that I've gotten. I've gotten some decent airtime on the show compared to other guys. So I think the ability to speak and to be semi-well-spoken, I have moments where it helps out tremendously. And just being able to express yourself a little bit, I think it's a cool thing. So,
what was getting fucked up with McGregor down in the basement, like where everybody's getting haircuts?
I will say this, man. This is plus of the show that you won't see, but already happened.
Yeah.
The night that he came in and started drinking, he lit a joint up, man, and he was like, "Yo, the producers were freaking out, bro, and they were like, somebody get Connor out and like take that away." Connor's like, "I don't care. This is my house, you know." And
I would drop him off.
He was like, "I'm still gonna smoke. I'm still gonna do this," and it was so entertaining to see it. But he's like walking by all the other fighters.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, you want to hit? You want to hit? You want to hit?" And everybody's like, "Oh, they're kind of nervous because the execs and everybody was like, we need to get Connor to stop smoking." And then he hits to me. He's like, "Come on, Carlos."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, bro, give me a hit, bro. You don't smoke with Connor every day, bro."
Oh,
so I was like, "All right, cool." So we smoked a little together. It was hysterical. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't even smoke that much, man. But like, we smoked together, and it was an experience, bro. And
That's a hell of a story, bro.
yeah. There's stuff that you won't see. It's behind the scenes,
Well,
you know.
And I look forward. Hopefully, one day we can chat about that.
Yeah, you know. But
yeah.
it was a cool experience. And it was in being in the house and seeing the cameras and everything, and now seeing it forward. I was like, there's so much that they didn't show. You know. But
yeah, then you're probably gonna have those moments like probably throughout it. You know, it is 45 minutes. Yes, they gotta cut it where it is. But what should the people expect from Carlos Vera in this season of The Ultimate Fighter?
Okay.
And why do you deserve to win The Ultimate Fighter?
you should, and this is a twofold answer. You should expect authenticity. You should expect Carlos Vera who he is, a martial artist. I could care less about the fame. Learn that, know that. I want to experience this, learn from it, and be able to represent the martial artist that I am. Humble, gritty, and just I want to learn, and I want the best way to learn is to test yourself against the best. You know, I haven't fought a UFC fighter of this caliber. Bracatona is a Brave FC world champ. He won several fights in the UFC. He's lost to Marab, who's right now on a freaking tear. So expect authenticity. The way I move in the ring is the way I express myself. You'll see it.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see it. I don't move like a normal person. I don't move like other fighters. I guarantee you, I move, my footwork and the way I express myself is how Carlos Vera is in real life.
I've seen it. Man, look. Speaking of, let's touch real quick. Speaking of Marab, let's just jump ahead a little bit. When you look at bantamweight division, is that the division you'll be fighting at? 135? You gotta love the prospect. You gotta love the opportunity. Yeah. Any fantasy matchups when you look at I don't know, let's say the top 10. Any matchups that you look at yourself or look just comparing and just
I want O'Malley.
Oh, yeah.
I think me and O'Malley can have a fun match because he moves like I do too.
Yeah.
I think he's done a good thing with his movement and his strike, and he's gotten better with every fight. I would love to fight O'Malley. I think we could have potentially fought each other in the LFA scene. When I fought for LFA, he fought for LFA. You know, he got his shot in the contender, and he's like risen up. Good for him. But I would love to fight. Like, matches or styles make fights, you know. And for some reason, not everybody wants to strike with me. I'm a tricky fighter in that sense. They want to grapple, which is why I had to learn how to grapple. Because of my style, because of my Taekwondo style. I've been doing it my whole life. And then I not only Taekwondo, but I do capoeira for 10 years. Capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian martial art. So footwork and adaptability is part of my style. And it's just kind of a funky style, man. It's a little weird. It's hard to track me.
Is that also why, like, because I know Connor has like a capoeira style, so that also is probably part of
100%. So I think what you should expect is authenticity, and me being able to represent myself for who I am, And yeah, man, just enjoy the show.
I'm looking forward to it. I did want to touch very quickly. We are some restaurant industry babies.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that for a second. So, I know New Orleans, the gritty, the blue collar.
So many stories. Bro.
Oh, man.
So many experiences.
Oh, man. But restaurant industry, man, like.
Bro, I grew up in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Man. I am an educated person in the sense that I went to a prestigious high school. I went to a good college. I worked in corporate America. But where I received most of my education, man, was the service industry. And it's the service industry in New Orleans on top of that. So I started off at Outback. I was a busser. I was 15 years old. I needed a job. And again, like, I'm an immigrant, bro. You want to make money? My parents is like, listen, man, we're limited. Go make your money.
Just go do it.
Handle that, help us out, which we did. We were a team, so I was always working. But I'm passionate about the service industry, man, just because I grew up in this, like I was a busser and you had to learn ropes and you have to understand you got to start from the bottom to get up there.
Yeah.
15-year-old, you better believe I was cleaning up crap. Yeah. I was cleaning up. I was taking trash out. I was getting pranked on.
Yeah.
Bro, so many restaurant pranks done on me.
Man.
I had to be talked down upon.
Yeah.
I had to.
So you started at the
bottom of the food chain, bro.
Yeah.
Like you're literally you're literally the feeder. You and the dishwasher. You work. you both of you guys have to work your way up. The dishwasher, and bro, I have so much respect for service industries that stay committed. So many friends that started as dishwashers and worked all the way up to sous chef. They worked all the way up to the kitchen, And I've worked as a dishwasher before too,
Same.
So I did more front of the house stuff,
Because they can't hide the face.
I'm stupid great looking, So that's one of them.
Yeah.
But worked as a busser. Then they saw that I spoke well. Worked as a host, so that you learn how to sit people, do that. Work behind the scenes as a food runner, as a to-go person, expo line, dishwasher, and then you become a server when you hit age. In New Orleans, at 17, you can get your liquor license at 17.
I think it's the same thing. It's the same here.
18 here.
Is it 18 here?
18 here. Right. So New Orleans is a little bit, we drink a lot out here, So 17, 18, I became a server. And then I would jump in and out from behind the bar. And I worked at Outback for damn near 10 years, on and off. Like you said, in the service industry, you can leave and come back. And then I left Outback for a while, and I worked in the French Quarter for a few years.
Okay.
I worked at the Emeril Lagasse chains. Emeril Lagasse is one of the biggest chefs coming out of New Orleans.
Okay.
If you look him up, he's the guy that goes, boom, Emeril.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Emeril.
Yeah.
So I worked at Delmonico's. I worked at NOLA. I never worked at the restaurant Emeril's, but my cousin was so my whole family's in the service industry.
Okay.
Right?
All right,
You're a blue collar guy. My family was either tailors.
Yeah.
Because that was the craft that they brought from them from South America.
Yeah.
Which we know how to sew a little bit, or the younger generation, which was me and my cousins, we all went to the service industry.
Right.
And my cousin worked his way up to be one of Emeril Lagasse's top chefs. Man. He actually opened one of his stores in New Orleans called Merrill's. And it's he was the guy who opened it. He was the top chef.
Man.
So, we worked in this scene together. But in the restaurant industry, man, again, I'll go back to, you learn how to talk to everybody, because essentially all you do is you learn how to open up and help others open up. That's what the service industry is, you know? Because if you want to be a shitty server, you just take orders.
Yo, I tell people all the time, we're here to eat shit a little bit, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're signing up for it because we understand that we're making money, right? And if we work together, and we've all agreed to eat this shit, we work together, we make a whole bunch of money. Now, if you're too good to eat this shit, it's not going to
100%.
work out, because you're coming in and you're making a professional matter personal, right?
Yeah.
And you got to pay attention to those messages, because sometimes it's not for everybody. You know what I mean?
100%.
Some people think it is. You know, I get all the time just kids, no experience.
The turnover's stupid, bro.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy. I mean,
and the pressure is insane, bro. Like the high pace of it.
It is
sink or swim.
But once you figure it out, though, it's like, okay, you know it now. Like when 100%. I was at San Tito, man, we used to call it being in the trenches.
Yeah.
I would literally,
you're just in the weeds.
Just in the weeds all day long.
You don't even notice that 6 hours pass because you
the Super Bowl is playing with sound. I couldn't even tell you what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All I know is I got a big pocket full of cash, and you know, I could potentially start putting this somewhere to help me. You know what I mean? And once you figure that out, man, it's like you can be anything in the industry.
100%.
Right? And I that's amazing, because my background is restaurant industry too.
So I think the biggest thing was me understanding, like, initially when I first became a server, because first you start off on the bottom of the totem pole and you learn to be like a soldier. You learn to take orders. You learn to be shat on. Like, okay, can you withstand this grit? Can you withstand all this fluff that you have to deal with? Once you earn that, you can be a server.
Yeah.
If you start young, some of them get started as a server, and unfortunately
host.
they don't, or host, and they don't have the grit, and that's why the turnover is so high.
Right.
But once you can deal with that, now it's like, how can you learn to develop the server aspect of it? Like, you can either be an order taker, where it's like, all right, yeah, cool, you want this? All right, I'll be back. Or you can make and I sound like management, but you can make every one of your tables a chance for you to hone your skill in how to open a conversation and win people over.
Yes, sir.
How to become a salesperson. Every table should be an experience for them. They should be like, damn, that dude Carlos was cool as shit. Right? That's what you should be honing.
Right.
And the thing is that you're gonna have to deal with people who are shitty. Like, bro, whenever people would come in and they'd be like, yo, I want this. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to work for you. But you're going to be my dude after.
See?
You know?
That mentality, man. Like, so for me, I tell people, like, what I tell my staff is, when we open the doors, there's nobody at these tables. And when we close the doors, there's nobody at these tables. If you're going to overreact for the moment that these individuals are at these tables because of how they're talking to you, then you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because if you think about it, it's actually what you're talking. It's mindfulness. You know what I mean? It's staying present and staying focused on the job, because you can't control how people
100%.
are, right? Somebody could come in with having a shitty day. But if you're having a shitty day, man, you could literally lose your whole job. You could fuck yourself up for...
Dude, I've seen some people get fired over one bad day with one bad table.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. So, to stay in that, I'm sure learning those lessons has kept you calm.
Yeah.
And going forward into this, I said this earlier. You're a 35-year-old prospect. Now, I've looked at everything on YouTube, any content I could find. Do you have anything to say to anybody who would deem you too old?
Yeah. Dude,
the floor is yours.
This is a big one, because I've always been one to just keep my head down and grind. And I started late in the game. I knew this time was gonna come when people are gonna be like, you're too old to fight, bro. And some people might be. Some people might be too old at 35. Some people might not have the grit or the heart to continue. But the way I fight, the way I train, in all of my fights, I've gotten hit maybe 6 times total. Because I want to be such a cerebral fighter that I want to get out there looking fresh. I want to train with high-level people in a way that my brain and my head and my body stays composed. Think about it, man. Why are these basketball players playing until they're in their 40s, late 30s, early 40s? Because you're not getting beat up. I mean, not physically. You are like, sure, you might lose a little bit of agility, but like these guys, for the most part, play well up until a certain point,
Right.
like you're literally in your prime, all your 30s, even some of your 40s, bro.
And to touch on that, not to cut you off, mentally, a lot of those players have pivoted because of how the game changed. So it's like keeping an always pivoting mindset.
Correct. So full evolution of yourself. Like you can't. The reason I think fighting is such an unforgiving sport is because people think that it's just being rocky. Being rocky, I think, is a metaphor of what your heart and your soul should be. You know, and yeah, you need to have that fuck you in you where you're like, I'm not giving up. But you can't fight like Rocky, bro.
No.
You ain't gonna make it. You're gonna end up sounding like Rocky by the end of the year. You're gonna sound out like the Diaz brothers.
Right.
That's not how I want to fight. That's not how I want to be. I want to be able to raise my kids. I want to be 60 years old, 70 years old with my grandkids with a sharp mind.
Yeah.
You know, so the first thing I'll tell them is my body's fine, my mind is fine, and I'm constantly changing to stay ahead of the curve, constantly evolving. Why is it that a 35-year-old could be called a prospect in the first place? I'm the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. See.
Why is a 35-year-old there? Because I've been beating up 20-year-olds for the last 2-3 years.
See.
I don't care who you are.
Right.
I don't care. And then on top of that, my work ethic and my discipline are gonna find me through. And then my mind and my ability to learn, to study, and to adapt and evolve. Like every fight, I get better and I evolve, and I'm just learning like overall skills. It's not just me, oh, I gotta get tougher. Ooh, I gotta run more sprints. Nah, bro, most of the time you get tired, like knowledge and wisdom come into place. You're getting tired because your mind is flustered. Because you're having to make more choices at a faster pace, and all of a sudden you're like, you look like you were setting up the cameras, flustered, sweating. I'm like, damn, clearly this man don't do this every day.
Oh, man,
right?
my team's not here.
It's cool, I get it, but like I'm using this as an example, right? You know, and I gotta grill you. I gotta grill you a little bit, right?
I love it, brother.
But it's like if you're getting flustered left and right. You're sweating, your mind's left and right. You're exhausted. You're like, why am I so tired? And I'm speaking out of experience.
Yeah.
Why am I so tired? Because all of a sudden the fight got ahead of you, right? So like I'm learning so much about the fighting. Not saying that this isn't gonna happen because I'm a fighter and fighting's, like I said, unforgiving. I'm sure I'm gonna be put on my ass in the future, and that's just the name of the game. But
hopefully less times than you putting people on there.
I have come out of my last 5 fights not very marked up, and I want to have that continue to be the case. Now I know that that's not going to always be the case, and I embrace that, right? But the way that I fight is a safe. It's like Floyd Mayweather. I'm not saying I'm anything like Floyd Mayweather, but I want to be like Floyd Mayweather. I want to be able to hit you and not get hit. So if you think that me being 35, me and Ryan were just talking about this. Bernard Hopkins, he became a champ at late 30s till he was 49 years old.
Yeah. This is
what a gangster. Right. Like ever evolving.
I feel like that. I was only asking because there are a bunch. I wouldn't even say. There's a couple nerds who online that have said this, and you know, for me it was like kind of comical. But hearing you today, talking to you, learning more about you, even just what I felt like I knew about you when I left the gym. I didn't know shit, man. The only question I had was, who is Carlos Vera, right? And you struck me as somebody who was here for a real reason, because he deserved and had earned to be there, and is doing everything to maintain and grow. And one of the things that I pull from Ryan, just his energy and the conversations that me and him have had, is like that. When I asked him about what is the difference between preparing for a fight, preparing for one of his fights, and preparing to corner a fighter. And he took a moment, and he was like, "That's a great question." And he was like, "Yeah," and he said that. You know what I mean? I was like, "Oh shit! I guess I can't be a podcaster." You know what I mean? Yeah. So he was like, I can only show somebody how I would do it, but I can't tell them that this is the way to do it. Yeah. And, for me, it was like, man, because that is the mindset, I feel like, to be successful. It's like everybody's going to have a way to do something, right? And, you know, depending on what it is that you're doing and how old that, you know, that industry goes back, or, you know, or that that art goes back, the foundations or the fundamentals might already be set. You know, when I was coming up in basketball, because I played ball for a while, I was maybe a 5'10" ninth grader. So they had me play center. But I wanted to be a guard, right?
Yeah.
I felt like my game, I could shoot. I'm more in and out. Back down game. I know my mom played a center, so she actually taught me a lot of post moves. My dad was a guard. So I had a jump shot.
That's awesome.
But I felt like I was kind of in between. But in 2002, that position really didn't exist. So I was center. And that was part of the reason why, like, I just kind of, like, I hated that. You know what I mean? I hated that.
Almost forced being there. Almost forced to do something you don't necessarily want to do.
Just based on somebody who feels like they just know the mold of basketball, and because of the fact that, you know what I mean, I'm 5'11" kid, I only grew to 6'3". I only grew about 4 or 5 more inches.
Yeah.
Everybody was taller than me going into ninth grade, so it's like I can't do anything. But getting stuck in that, like, that
framework of like that box.
Man,
that's the beauty of Ryan, bro.
I feel like that's and I think I identify with that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's not either that mindset has spread or it's just the team. I feel like I'm looking, and I've talked to a bunch of open-minded individuals who are on the precipice of, I mean, already doing great things, but on the precipice of something even greater. I look at that picture of us in that gym, and truly, I'm like, man, so the only way I can make sense of this for me personally is to grind on this end to make sure that I'm a champion in a year like the rest of those brothers in that picture are going to be.
I appreciate it, dog. The big thing is surround yourself with like-minded people. You know, that's the cool thing about that room, bro. That room that you were in, like, all those guys we're on the same path, and we know how to train well, and we have grit, and we have heart. And we're all, like, bro, I've been working in the shadows for the last 10 years, man. Like, I don't stop.
Right.
You know, but people didn't know who Carlos was, and now Carlos is getting some notoriety. I don't give a shit what people think, what people say. I just got to keep on doing what I'm doing, bro. You know, and I'm excited for the opportunities that are going to present themselves. And I'm still getting ready with new stuff and new things. I'm going to Ireland next month to train with McGregor and his team.
All right, nice.
Me and Kavanaugh hit it off really well. So
shout out to SBG Ireland.
Shout out to them. Me and Roddy, man. Roddy was my dude,
shout out to Coach on Roddy, man. I wish I had the bombs on him.
I'm about to get some good training with Roddy. Really took reins of this fight. He helped me out tremendously. So so the people that think 35 is too old, like, it might be for some people, you know, but it's not for most people. If they put their if you put your mind to it, anything is possible at any time, man. And I look forward to proving a lot of people wrong.
And I look forward to watching it. And, man, bro, it is an absolute honor. It's been incredible. I was shuffling those cameras around, so I appreciate your patience. And honestly, man, as the season goes on, I would love to have you again.
Yeah,
you know what
man,
I mean? This
course.
has been amazing. Next time we do it, we'll have the full setup.
Yeah.
And did you have any last things you wanted to say to the people? I know we got the Ultimate Fighter tonight. Well, by the time this comes out, it will be yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, what to expect, man? Where can we catch you?
Yeah.
Any shout outs?
IG, Carlos Vera, MMA. Easy Instagram, my first, last name, MMA. Just keep up, you know, try to be a fan, see the ups, enjoy the ups, feel the downs. And all I want to do, and all most fighters want to do, is just give a little bit of inspiration, you know, because I think people like fighting, are attracted to fighting so much is because we materialize the wars that we all face internally, except we materialize it in front of us, you know. So sometimes we win and it's like, fuck, we overcame that adversity. Sometimes we lose and it's like, can we overcome this adversity? We better believe it. You know, so that's what I want to be able to represent. I want to be able to represent hope, grittiness, and just discipline. Just being a martial artist. That's what I am, and that's what you'll see tonight.
My man, Carlos Vera. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it, bro.
My man.
I appreciate it.
Always. And as always, be mindful. Peace.
Deuces.